Hey everybody, good morning and welcome to another episode of the Daily D. So today's topic is thinking bigger. So when I was younger, in my mid-20s, and it's funny because I don't think I'm alone in this, right? I think that many of us start off with, we'll call it small dreams, small goals, or not any ambition. And maybe our ambition or our drive is focused in the wrong direction. For an example, when I was younger, my drive and my direction was, getting drunk and hanging out with my buddies and chasing women and smoking cigarettes and playing pool. Those were my drivers, if you will, when I was younger in life. And the reason that they were really is because that's kind of all I knew. My buddies were all thinking the same thing. The people I hung out with, that was their priority. So what I learned is that it was cool, right? I mean, that's how I felt. And I used to stay up all night drinking. I used to kind of be a party animal, if you will. My life of the party, always wanting to relax and chill. Never really, I'm not going to say that I never had ambition, but I did have a little ambition. And I remember I used to be that guy that would talk about all the great things he's going to do in the world only when I was drunk, Never talked about them when I was sober. Well, recently I've been working on my book. That'll be out in about a month or so. And one of the stories in the book I talk about is my initial introduction to the tax business. Now, I got into the tax business. If you want to know more about this story, read my book. But I got into the tax business because somebody asked me to join them in it. And I didn't want to do that, man. I didn't want to be in the tax business. All I knew back then is that I didn't like to pay taxes, and that's about it. And when I went to learn more about this tax business, the only reason that I went is because there was a promise of partying at this event. And I thought, okay, yeah, that sounds like cool. Now, when I got there, I sat down in a group. It's probably about 40 of us. We're all listening to presenters talk about this opportunity to join the tax business. And as I'm sitting there listening, I start to realize something. I start to realize these people aren't like me. Meaning they weren't all focused on drinking and smoking and hanging out and philandering. They weren't thinking of that. They were thinking about getting ahead. They were thinking about their families, and they were thinking about the things they were going to do in the world. And I could hear it in their voice. I could see it in their actions. I could really not relate to them because I wasn't living it, but I could connect with them because I thought, man, I didn't know people could enjoy life at this level. Because, my family, my mom and my dad who raised me, they raised me through hard work. All they did is work. Literally, that's all they did is work. And they worked on the weekdays and they worked on the weekends, and they put food on the table, and they did everything they could to support me. And I never knew that I always knew hard work was part of the formula, but I didn't know there was more than just hard work. And these guys and girls that were up in the front of the room, some were married couples, some were just single guys, some were, older couples, some were retirees. They were all different people. And every single one of them connected with me in some way, shape, or form. And what happened was I started to think bigger. I started to think more about who I could become, not who I was. And what it did is it really inspired me to start doing more with my life. I kept on feeling how small I was. And I don't mean it because they were putting us down. I just kept on thinking, gosh, if these guys can do it, why can't I? If these guys are doing it this way, why can't I do that? Like, God, I want to have those things too. I kept on thinking of those things. And the reason that I got into the tax business is because I had to start thinking bigger. I didn't have to start thinking. I had to get out of my small think and get into big think. And it really changed for me. It really did. My life changed then. And it's changed ever since, obviously. But it changed that day. It made me really realize that life didn't have to be the same ever again. So here's my challenge to you. In order for you to think bigger, you got to get around bigger. And these guys weren't talking about, by the way, they weren't like, oh, we're going to conquer the world and we're going to be masters of the universe. That's not what they were talking about. They were just saying simple things to me like, I get to take, a month vacation with my family. I finally got to buy, my wife the car of her dreams. I finally got to travel the world like I've always wanted. I finally don't have to worry about paying my light bill. I finally get to spend more time with my children. And when I heard all those things, all I kept on thinking about is, man, one day I want to be like them. So I challenge you to get around people who want to be bigger, who want to think bigger. Your limitations are capped right now because of the people that you associate with and because of the ideas that you plant in your head through the things that you watch, through the things that you listen to, through the things that you read. All of those are limiting or exposing factors in your life. Now I share this with you in hopes that, here's the hope, right? In hopes that you can see the beauty in getting around others. Because some people think it's painful. Well, I don't want to get around people who are doing big things because I'm not doing big things and they're going to make fun of me. They're not going to accept me. Well, here's the deal, man. If you're afraid of being a little uncomfortable, that's going to limit you forever. If every day you were afraid to show up, then, man, God forbid that somebody gave you an opportunity of a lifetime and you were too afraid to show up. Every time, there was a point in my life, I'll share this last story. There was a point in my life where I was afraid to go to weddings, to funerals, to gatherings. I didn't go to a lot of things. Birthday parties, family parties. I didn't go to a lot. There was a time in my life where I was afraid of it. And let me tell you why. I was afraid because I didn't feel like I had done anything in the world. And it made me ashamed. I felt ashamed. I felt like I was unworthy of attention. I felt like I was unworthy of being in the presence of people who were doing things. And these people, to be very honest with you, family, friends, people, they didn't even care because, that's just not how they thought, but I thought that way. And when I realized, this is just only recently, after probably when I met my wife and I started to understand things, even then I was still a little bit in that zone, and it had nothing to do with her, it just has everything to do with me, until she really gave me the confidence that I needed to become the person I am today. And it's through her and through my relationships with our partners and all the things that we've done, it's really given me the confidence to be the man that I am today. You see, I think getting around big thinkers, now today I can sit in a room with big thinkers. You know why? Because I'm going to learn from these big thinkers. They're going to give me ideas that I would have never have thought about, and I hope that I can share some of my insights. And one thing that I've talked about in previous videos, and sometimes you just got to shut up and listen, right? And that's what I do most times. I'm not the guy who's giving the advice. I'm not the guy standing in the room pretending like I know it all. I hate when people do that, by the way. When they have no clue about what's going on, but they have an opinion. I'm not that guy, guys. All I do is I just sit there and I soak it in. I want to hear what people are doing. I want to learn from their experience or through their experience. I want to become smarter and more disciplined because of the things that they're doing in the world. So I challenge you to get around big thinkers. And if you're wondering how, let me tell you how. Read a book. That's a great way to get around big thinkers. Reading books. It's a great way to get around big thinkers. Read a book. Second way, hang out with them. Find some people who are thinking big and get in front of them, get near them, get around them. Third thing, go to an event. If you can't find people that want to be your friends, at least you could pay to go to an event where people will be your friend. I know that sounds really messed up, but that's how it works. When I think about all the times in my life where I was limited, where I was limiting myself, it all revolved around me not being around big thinkers. And I want to get big think in my life, and I hope you do too. So get around some big people, read some good books, think about the things that are going on in the world, and think, what am I doing right now that is capping my potential? And typically it's who you hang out with, it's the thoughts that you put in your head through the things you read, through the things you listen to the things you watch, right? Those are two limiting factors into your growth. But if you really want to think big, man, expose yourself. YouTube, audiobooks, regular books, watching. To be honest with you, yesterday I watched the Super Bowl. That didn't make me think big at all. It did inspire me though. I watched Tom Brady win 7 Super Bowls. Now, don't get me wrong, I could care less. Meeting him would make me no different. But to see somebody so driven is inspiring. That's big think. All right, guys, I wish you nothing but health, wealth, success, but most importantly, freedom. Thanks, guys.